Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over the Vespid Stingwing Kill Team preview. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Do you like it? Let me know. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below for free, an affiliate link to Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support as well. But yeah, I have rushed home. I've had a nice haircut for the Vespids. So let's go through it. There's an article from Warhammer community today which goes through the kill team. There's also a trailer which kind of gives a narrative briefing of the kill team. It's very American. I'm very freedom charged with that trailer, but it's nice. You know, we could hopefully we see more faction trailers like that. But enough about my waffling. Let's get on with the video. So first up, we have our first reveal of Fly. So Fly, oddly, is not a keyword, as it seems, but Fly is explained how it works currently in Kill Team. So for Kill Team 24, you know, in Kill Team 21, Fly was just like, you just move infinitely high or infinitely low, going down. Fly is now, when you move and probably dash, you just pick up the model and place it anywhere within its movement range and probably dash range as well. So you just completely, it's a teleport. Fly is now a teleport. So this is technically more simple, but it still has the problem of moving infinitely high and then infinitely down. So I guess that is fine. Technically, Fly has been buffed. The big drawback to having Fly is now you can't charge and fly. So if you want to charge, you have to move normally. Whereas if you want to move, you can fly. And you can probably dash when you fly. That wasn't clarified in the article. So already a big change to Fly. It's not so bad for the Vespid, who are a more shooting-oriented kill team. Probably terrifying for the Void Dancer troop, who are like, you mean I have to walk into charge range instead of just doing a backflip? Maybe they will get a specific workaround. As it stands, I kind of just wish they went with the 40k and Age of Sigmar version of Fly, where you just pay for your diagonal, height, or distance. This is more simple, but it's just kind of thematically weird where you can't fly and charge. I guess that's how they wanted to balance out Fly. It doesn't work when you charge. So when the Vespid want to charge into combat, they graciously stop flying, retract their wings, and run at you. So next up, we have their special weapons. So they have Neutron weapons, which are either like their Neutron blasters or other special weapons. So the way these Neutron weapons work is when a friendly Vespid moves or uses Fly, its Neutron weapons have the Piercing 1 special roll until the end of the turning point. So two things, turning points are still turning points, and at the end of the article they showed that Piercing 1 is AP 1. So Piercing is now AP, which I guess makes sense. So if they move, they're AP 1, and that's fine. The other thing about these weapons is they all have the Devastating 2 special rule, and Devastating 2 is the new mortal, well, Devastating is the new mortal wounds. So on every crit they do 2 mortal wounds, and if you move or fly before you shoot your Neutron weapons, they have AP 1, so Piercing 1. That's actually pretty good. Well, kill team wide armor penetration. It's actually quite terrifying and something we've only really seen with the Warp Coven. So could be a very deadly threat so far with this kill team. So next we have the communion points and the communion system. And I have to say, I am very worried about this kill team. Like, we'll get onto their profile later, but this whole communion thing, I was really interested by it. At the moment, I think it's really bad. So, how does this work? Communion points are used to maintain the tactical focus of friendly Vespid Stingwing operatives. In the ready step of each strategic phase, remove all communion points from the previous turning point, then you gain D3, +1 if a friendly oversight drone is in the kill zone. And then they are used as following. Whenever a friendly Vespid operative is performing the shoot action, it can only target the closest enemy operative within 8 inches of it, excluding enemy operatives within control range of other Vespid operatives, unless you spend one of your communion points. For weapons with the blast and torrent special rules, you only the first target must be selected this way. So if you're hitting 2 or more targets, you don't have to spend a communion point each time. And another thing, so already you can work around this by charging the closest enemy operative and either killing them or tying them up so you don't have to spend more communion points on operatives you want to hit further away. Whenever a friendly Vespid operative performs a charge action, it must finish the action with the control range of the closest enemy operative it can, unless you spend one of your communion points. So once again, this is also a pretty tough restriction. So your opponent can play around this as well by just rushing operatives up into your face, where you either have to shoot them or charge them. The worst thing is if they're on conceal and you have no way to negate that conceal. So now you have to move within 2 inches to shoot them, I assume so, or just charge them. And then whenever you would perform the pickup marker, so not pickup action, it's pickup marker now, or a mission action with a friendly Vespid operative, you must spend one of your communion points to do so. This is extremely tough because instead of just being like, oh, you're +1 to mission actions unless you spend a communion point, you can't do mission actions. So if we still have like a secure loot capture, you're going to be in weird scenarios where you can't do mission actions unless, like, you're going to be in scenarios where do you play for the mission or do you try and kill someone? So this is already like really, really rough. Whenever a Vespid operative is shooting, you can spend one and only one of your communion points to reroll one attack dice. This is something you will probably never do unless it's your last operative and you haven't used any communion points. This is a nice buff in terms of going like, okay, your communion points you've got left over, you can just use them for rerolls. So that's fine. I think 4 is a fine point. The only issue is you don't get many. D3 communion points is exceedingly small. I didn't want like you to get enough for your whole team. You know, maybe that would have been too restricting. I think 2d3 +1, so +1 for the drone would have been fine. We don't see the leader sheet. So I was originally assuming if you're within red of the oversight drone, you can act normally. You get like a free communion point. I assume that's now the leader. If you're activated within red of the, 6 inches of the leader, you basically count as having a free communion point. Hopefully that's how the team works. Otherwise, oh my gosh, this team is going to be really easy to manipulate for the enemy. They can just mess up your positioning by sending operatives on conceal close enough where you can't actually threaten them, but you have to charge them. And we might see the weird scenario where their blasters only have an 8-inch range because it specifies that you can only shoot operatives within 8 inches of it. So a lot of hints there, but obviously this is incomplete information. But from what we can see here, I really don't like the communion mechanic. I think it's too restricting. We may get more, and it does get helped by the equipment a bit later, and I'll show that. But I'm not a fan. I think this mechanic is way too restricting unless Vespid are absolutely crazy. So next we have the Vespid datasheet. So this is the Vespid Skyblast. This is the one who likes to commit war crimes. It's the one with the Neutron blaster, like the Neutron grenade launcher. So they're all APL2. They all move 6 inches. They have a 5-up save. But in return, they do have 9 wounds, which is nice. I thought they were going to be 8 wounds, but 9 wounds, that's pretty good. So the Neutron grenade launcher is 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, free, blast 2, so a 2-inch blast, devastating 2, as per all the other Neutron weapons, so it does 2 mortal wounds on a crit, and then Neutron bombardment. So Neutron bombardment, place one of your Neutron fallout markers within the primary target's control range. And then you've got the Neutron fallout. Once during each enemy operative's activation, as soon as it's within 2 inches of one of your Neutron fallout markers, inflicts D3 damage on it. Multiple markers aren't cumulative. So this is actually quite interesting because in the current version of Kill Team, this kind of mortal wound damage happens at the start of every turning point. Now it's just whenever someone activates, which is actually pretty interesting. It gets around like the timing issues that occurring at the start of the turning point. But it means you're incentivized to send the Vespid Skyblast in early to hit someone and then just damage everyone. Because even if the target survives, they will also take D3 mortal wounds after when they activate. So really, really powerful there. But as you can see, they don't have the fly keyword. So fly might be tied to this faction alone. It might not be a general keyword. But it's got the Tau Empire keyword, Vespid Stingwing keyword, and the Skyblast keyword. But that does mean general Vespids are going to be 9 wounds, which is good. 5-up save. I think everyone was expecting a 5-up save. Their melee is 3 attacks hitting on 4s, 3-4, pretty much as expected. And I believe their Neutron blasters are probably going to be 3 damage free on a crit with devastating 2. And obviously when they move, they go to piercing 1. Based on that, the team's only hitting on 4s. They're doing 3 damage base. If they don't roll any crits, they're only doing 3 damage. They are AP1. So unless this team has access to innate rerolls, like via strategic ploys, they're going to be not as damaging as they are. Now, To be fair, the Neutron Blaster could be 4/4 damage, and in that case, if it's 4/4, that's kind of insane. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3/3, devastating 2, so basically it does 5 damage on a crit. Tempting. Like, we need to see the full datasheet for the Vespid, but otherwise, I think it's pretty okay. So next we have equipment. So hidden in this article is how equipment works. So everyone now just gets 4 pieces of equipment they can pick. So you effectively have 4 points of equipment, and you use that to select 4 pieces of equipment. That's pretty much it. You don't need to go like, oh, I've got 10 equipment points, so I need to calculate X and Y. Nope, everyone has access to a pool of 4 equipment points each, and you just pick 4 pieces of equipment. So it's nice and streamlined, but this is only a teaser, so we don't fully know how like all the equipment works, which we need to see, but they do show the faction equipment. So we have the convergence stimulant, because Vespids like using not drugs, stimulants. So they've got the convergence stimulant. So if you select this for your kill team, once per turning point, when a friendly Vespid operative can perform the pickup or mission action without spending a communion point. So you're always taking this. You need convergent stimulant to work. It's basically a free communion point. So that's nice, all right? That's some nice compensation there. You've got some way to not be screwed over like on Into the Dark, because hilariously, if you're out of communion points, assuming closing and opening doors is still a mission action, your opponent could just close the door on you and all your insects can do is just buzz. And then you have neurostimulant. So when I first read neurostimulant, I was like, amazing, fine. Then I reread it. So in the ready operative step, in the ready step of each strategic phase, when determining how many communion points to gain, you can roll 2d3 and select 1d3 to use. You still have a very low chance of rolling double ones and only ending up with 2 communion points to play around with on top of your convergent stimulant. So my problem here, convergent stimulant, great, that's perfect. It's not for a specific operative, it just counts as for the whole kill team, so that's very nice. Neurostimulant, you're locked into it, but it's not great. Right, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant about communion points. I think they should have been 2d3 plus 1, and then neurostimulant stays the same. You can re-roll, like you roll 3d3 and pick one of them, or you pick 2 of them. This is very limiting. Obviously, as I've mentioned previously, maybe the leader has a bubble of 6 inches, giving operatives free command communion points, which is fine. But at the moment, this is very, very limiting. On average, you're only going to have 3 communion points to play around with, 4 at most. And then you have a 5th one, which is free for mission actions and pickup actions. Doesn't work if you're trying to shoot or fight somewhere else. So it feels like this kill team is way more limiting than it should be. I understand they want to reflect the animalistic and insectoid nature of the Vespids, but I think they might have gone a bit too far from what we've been previewed, all right? Now, obviously things can change, that's why I'm not dooming and glooming now. My inner competitive side is like, oh my gosh, compared to what the scions sound like, this is not ideal. They still sound fun. I just feel like the communion points are very limiting in terms of how much we get. I would have liked 2d3 plus 1, but we might get more with the leader, and maybe there's a strategic ploy that gives them more, so we'll see. I like that it represents that this kill team is still a bunch of Xenos insects, but maybe they went a bit too far. But we'll see. It's still early days and we haven't had the full rules of the kill team. And then finally, we have another lore article tomorrow with the Aquilons next week, who sound totally fine. So for the Vespid preview overview, Neutron weapons sound quite devastating because they literally have the Devastating 2 special rule. So for every crit you roll, they get 2 mortal wounds onto the... well, they do automatically 2 damage to the target, which is very nice. If they move or fly, they have Piercing 1, which means they deduct 1 from your opponent's save. Very, very good. The guns are likely to be 3/3 damage base, maybe 4/4, but probably 3/3 hitting on 4s. They've got 9 wounds, so they're actually quite durable, even though they only have a 5-up save. And they're okay in combat, because they've got 3 attacks hitting on 4s, 3/4. But so far, we haven't seen any melee specialists. Fly seems to be completely changed. It's no longer a core rule, so it might be kill teams or operative specific. And fly is when you move, instead of moving normally, you basically teleport from one point to the other. If you are trying to charge, you have to charge normally, so you can't fly charge. You have to use your normal movement to charge, which is a bit limiting. And when you fly, you're limited by your movement characteristic. So you can't just, you have to be within 6, I assuming ignoring vertical distance from where you started. So you just teleport. It's not bad, although it isn't fully explained in the article. Then we have communion points. you get D3 plus 1, and if you take one of your equipment pieces, you re-roll that you roll 2d3 and pick the highest. Unless you spend a communion point, you have to shoot the closest target within 8 inches, and then you also have to charge the closest target, unless they're in engagement range, then you're free to do whatever. Well, for shooting, if they are not in if you're trying to charge, you will have to charge them. If you want to shoot someone not within 8 inches, you have to spend a communion point. If you want to charge someone who's not within 8 inches into 8 inches somehow, or not the closest target, you have to spend a communion point. If you want to do a mission action or the pickup token action, you have to spend another communion point. And you can also spend communion points for rerolls if you have any left over. You have got a piece of equipment that allows 1 Vespid operative per turning point to do a mission action or pickup action for 1 communion point for free. So there's some play around there. But what you're going to find is smart opponents will be able to bait you, especially if they're running horde teams, because they can just send useless mooks within 8 inches of you on conceal, behind around terrain features where you either have to charge them or can't shoot them, but you now have to move then shoot them, which kind of just wastes your operatives. So we're still assuming the leader may give a bubble of free communion points, and your drone can probably do mission actions with super conceal. The interesting thing they mentioned about the Neutron weapons, so the grenade launcher leaves a blast of mortal wounds that target everyone within 2 inches of the original of the token, which is placed within control range of the target you hit, and whenever they activate, they take D3 mortal wounds. But they also mentioned it's not a normal rail rifle they have a Neutron rail rifle. So that rail rifle probably uses radiation as well, which means if they hit a target, they're going to do more mortal wounds. So this kill team, while it may not be great in close combat, it sounds like this kill team really maximizes on mortal wounds. So getting into key positions, maybe not killing targets, but mauling them and leaving them in a position where they just die to mortal wounds, either via your rail rifle, your grenade launcher, as well as your flamer to finish stuff off. They actually sound like if you get everything working right, you don't kill stuff, you bring stuff into chip range and then finish it off with either mortal wounds or your flamer or just a simple charge. So I can see it working so far on paper. We're still waiting for the full rules. I am interested. I am also deeply worried about this kill team. It sounds fun, but it doesn't sound that competitive. But it's early days. We'll see all the rules. And also we had equipment clarified. So everyone gets 4 pieces. Well, everyone can select up to 4 pieces of equipment. Equipment points are gone. And it looks like instead of selecting equipment for key operatives, it seems to work kill team wide, I guess, based on one of their equipments. But we'll see. Equipment is streamlined, so it's going to be very easy to just pick equipment. So hopefully it seems like the setting up and getting going part of kill team has been cut down and reduced, so it's a lot faster. But overall, I'm optimistic. I mean, the Vespid still look amazing. I'm going to be Team Vespid. By the way, if you were rolling for your communion points, you have to use these dice. If you are not using these dice to roll for your communion points, you are not a true Vespid player, right? I'm going to buy 2 of those dice right now for my communion points, because I love the Vespid and honey. Like a true space bee. You can buy space honey. But yeah, it looks really fun. I can't wait to see what the Aquilans do. Hopefully they don't sound as crazy as how Elliot described them in the reveal video. But it looks interesting. They're going to be a very mobile team that isn't great at combat, but they don't seem too overwhelming at shooting. They seem like a great chip team. But they look cool. They're cool. I can't wait to see what the rest of them do and how they translate. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Do you have the same concerns about me? For me, about the Vespid? Or are you really hyped? Let me know what you think of the Vespid kill team and what do you think of Fly, as well as the change to equipment. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below for free, an affiliate link at Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support as well. And I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Tom, Supercow, Stephen, Sam, Nick, Mr. Meatwad, Mercenary Q, Lucas, John Thomas, Graham, Dave Meatsworld, Dad of Golden's Chris, and then for my veterans of the crit, I have Sam Jurtha. Thank you all for your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. I am still on the hype train for Vespid and the new edition of Kill Team. I like how equipment works. I'm confused with Fly. The Vespid still look cool. Just don't lock doors, right? They're afraid of doors. Try and think of the best bee memes. Like when you're charging your opponent, you just play like the Nicolas Cage. Oh, not the bees! The bees, my eyes! The bees are everywhere. You know, just let me know. I'd be interested to see what kind of bee hype you are coming up with. I know that I'm already connecting with a few key Vespid loyalists. We are building up a hive of knowledge. So that's going to be fun because we don't need jump packs. We just need wings and radiation because war crimes in space. But remember, no matter how much radiation you get saturated with, there's always a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.